And I think for the first time, to be honest, Nosy, I was like, when I came across you on Instagram, I was like, conversational strategist. I'm like, hey, this is big English. I heard it first from you. And I was like, I'm interested. So please feel free to engage with her on Instagram, like, follow, share, subscribe. And from myself, say Yali alumni. And all forth, you can check her profile and bio. It is in your packs. So please let me give it over to her by you standing up, please, and giving her a warm round of applause. Nozipho, Tshabalala.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope I'm audible. Otherwise, I'm going to end up stealing that microphone. Are we good? Okay, fantastic. We have an hour together. And I want to say in this hour, everything is permissible. You can ask me about everything. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about my business, because I think there are many of you here who probably are entrepreneurs or aspiring entrepreneurs who are also trying to build maybe a similar business. Sometimes it's not a similar business, but it's a similar business model. You want to build something niche, but you want to make sure that you're operating in the global space. I always tell my team that we operate in dollars, and that's where we want to be, right? And so if you want to be in a dollar-denominated market, this is what I'm going to be telling you about. But I'm more than just an entrepreneur. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm a sister. And I am a big sister to some people who don't want to be little sisters and brothers, but forcefully anyway, they will become little sisters and brothers. And so I want you to feel free to ask me about absolutely everything and anything. I'm going to spend about maybe 20 minutes, Dombe, maybe keep me true to the time. It's 1:45 now, maybe at 5 past, just going through the presentation that I prepared for you. And then I want us just to have a real conversation. Is that okay? Are we good with that? And I'm seeing some familiar faces. People I've taught and mentored many years ago. So that's really, really exciting for me to hear that. We've upped the temperature. So if it starts feeling too hot, please let us know and we can bring it down just a little bit. So I want to tell you a story today about how do you go about building a global niche business, which, if you look at it, doesn't make sense, right? Because niche is supposed to be small. Niche is supposed to be lean. Niche is not about being big. So how does something niche go global, right? Because when we think about global, we think, oh, you can start as an entrepreneur with a small business, and the small business must become a medium-sized business, and then the medium-sized business must become a big business. That I would get a call from the United Nations World Bank saying, we want what you do. I'm going to tell you a story about doing more than just daring, more than just dreaming, and actually doing. Because here's the thing, hard work has gotten a bad rep. And I'm going to call you guys out on this, especially all of you who are much younger than me. I'm a soft life. My brother at the back, I'm going to keep trying to translate for you. Ne? You guys love the soft life. And I'm here to also be a reality check, to say that if you're going to be distinguished, it is going to take nothing else but work. So the do part is a step you can't skip, right? There is no world where you build something global without actually doing the work, right? So you get the opportunity to do the work and the client calls you. And now client, and the last piece of the puzzle is you've got to deliver. And the delivering is the thing that not only gets you the first call, it gets you the second call and the third call and the calls that keep you a global business. Because let's just be clear, you're not a global business because you've done one piece of work in Zimbabwe. Let's just be clear, right? It's about sustaining that business, right? So those are the things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to some popular things. You're not going to like me in some moments, but that's okay, right? So let me press up there. So here's the first story I want to tell you about. It's the story about daring to dream. That's a picture of me working at CNBC Africa just before I made the leap to become an entrepreneur. But I want to take you to the beginning, my very humble beginnings, actually. Many of you might know my story. I come very poor. Don't do poverty parading, which is, oh, look how poor I was. But the more poor you were, the more inspirational your story. No, we don't do poverty parading. It's just the matter of what it was. I come from a very poor background. I was raised by a street vendor. My mother was the person on the side of the road selling food and cigarettes and sweets. That's how I got through school. My father was not educated either. My parents both had standard 8. At that time, they called it a junior certificate or JC. Okay, you're talking about JC. That's what it meant grade 10. And so my father was a factory worker, and so he used to work in the factories and in shoe factories in particular. And there was a time in South Africa where the textile industry collapsed. And as a result, all of the shoe factories closed. And so my father found himself out of work and became a security guard. And so I was raised by a street vendor and a security guard. And we didn't have much. But the one thing that we had was my parents taught me that I can outwork anyone. And I want to leave you guys with that. No matter how hard something is, if you step into the space with the mindset of I can outwork anyone, I can learn anything. And because I'm going to outwork you, doesn't matter how difficult it is, I'm going to figure it out and I'm actually going to be really good at it. In addition to being able to outwork anybody, no did not exist in my parents' vocabulary, right? Just, we're going to find a way to make it work, right? So things can be tough, things can be difficult, but there's no such thing that you can't make a way around, right? So it's this idea that in order for you to have an mindset, you first start with the mindset that says there's a way around everything, right? And I want to give you that. And I want to give you what I'm saying. You don't have to be poor today. Many of you are born into much better families right now, but you can still have a mindset that outworks everyone. You can still have an attitude that says, I will and I can figure it out. Does that make sense? So I had a survivalist entrepreneurial upbringing. What I mean by that is that I used to wake up every morning. I used to go to school, and I went to really fancy schools because I got scholarships. And because I was young, I was ashamed of that. I didn't want people to know that actually that lady over there with the sweets, that's my mother, right? But I was forced to wake up, pheka magwinya, make pet cooks in the morning, smelling of oil, cut the chicken pieces for my mother, peel potatoes. And you know, the guys will, these guys always have trolleys, and we'd pack the trolley. This is 4 o'clock in the morning. Pack the trolley, and we'd push the trolley, help my mother set up her table, and then go back home, bath, take the first taxi, second taxi, so that I'm at school by 7:30, right? So, and you might look at that and you're like, sure, Nozi, that's a great story. But it's not about that. It's about what about that moment has gotten me here. So I'm going to come back to that, because one of the things I want you to have at the back of your minds, and hear me say this well, you are the sum total of all the experiences and places you have been, right? You are the sum total of all the experiences and all the places you have been. So there is absolutely nothing that you've gone through or are going through right now that is not going to work in your favor in the future. And if you make the mistake of discounting parts of your life, you're going to miss what it is you're supposed to be taking from that moment in your life. Do you understand me? It can be tough. It can hurt. It can be painful, but you are depositing something for you to use in the future, right? So my upbringing it informs very much the type of entrepreneur that I am today. So I go through school, I go through primary school, I go through high school. I managed to get to university. It's a very long story. Maybe we'll talk about it a little bit later, but I managed to get into the University of Pretoria, and I managed to study my first degree. My first degree is in political sciences, because I thought I wanted to be in parliament or become an ambassador in the country. I do political sciences and I do my honors. I'm waitressing at the same time, because I can't do that. Mommy, here's my banking detail story, right? There's none of that, right? So I'm waitressing at the same time so I can pay rent. I can eat, I can go to school, I can buy textbooks, I can do all of that. I eventually start lecturing at the university. I started tutoring when I was in my 3rd year. And then when I did my honors year, I started lecturing first years. And while I was in my honors year, I came across an advert for an internship at the presidency, at the union buildings, and I applied. Long story short, I got the job, and I started working with the deputy president, Dr. Phumzile Mlambo-Ngcuka. Overnight, I went from being a no one to having a diplomatic passport to traveling on the private jet of the deputy president and actually just seeing the world, right? And I'm fast, very quick. I'm going to get you to this picture. I work at the presidency. I spend 3 years at the presidency, and then I get spotted by an organization that offers me a scholarship, and they kind of say, wherever you want to go study in the world, choose. So I end up going to the UK, doing my master's in international relations and diplomacy. So I studied to become a diplomat because I'm like, yeah, I'm on my way to becoming a diplomat. I spend a year in the UK, and I come back into South Africa, and President Mbeki is resigning. My boss is saying she's resigning with him. I'm like, girl, yeah, what's the plan? Because I just came back with this big fancy degree, and we're supposed to figure it out together. And here you are leaving, but it's a gift in that moment, in that pain, in that confusion, in feeling so disorientated, as if the carpet was pulled under my feet. I end up going to Washington, D.C. I spent about a year in D.C. and I arrived the week after President Obama is inaugurated. And I'm walking past the White House every day, right? And I'm pretending Barack can see me every day, right? And I go to work. I work in the mayor's office in Washington, D.C. And the reason I get to the mayor's office is that the deputy president says to me, Nozi, I'm leaving. And when I leave, I'm going to start up a foundation on leadership. We're going to work with the poorest schools in the country, work with the principals, and we're going to help the principals to see themselves as leaders. And when they see themselves as leaders, I think we're going to be able to change the outcomes of schools. And she says, and then I want you to be the executive director. And I'm like, ma'am, I don't know anything about education. I don't know anything about leadership. And that's how I end up going to the US to go and learn about leadership and education, because the mayor's office had a dedicated office that was coordinating all the money that was coming into the District of Washington for education. So I learned a lot. I come back and we start the foundation, and I'm the first person employed. And now I have to employ people. I'm like, yeah, I've never employed anybody in my life. I don't know how to do this. How do you do a contract? Google became my best friend. Googled everything, right? But the other good thing I had is that downstairs was somebody actually who's been so instrumental in my life, who was the CEO of a company called Vua. And I used to go to him every other day and be like, how do you do this? I remember first having to fire someone and going, oh my goodness, I don't know how to fire someone, and had to go to him. And so again, I'm trying to show you that in that moment of need, I also learned the impact of mentorship, right? It's part of the reason why I'm so passionate about mentorship today. So we run the foundation with the deputy president. I hire a team, build programs, we raise money, and then I start getting the itch. And I'm like, I've worked in government, I've worked in civil society, but are you really a person if you haven't worked in private sector? This is now the voice in my head, right? I'm like, I have to get private sector experience. So then I start applying. And I call this the humbling period in my life, because I've got a chip on my shoulder now, right? I have a master's from the UK. I used to work in the union buildings. The executive director for the foundation started by the deputy president. I mean, who wouldn't want me? So I go. BM, SAB, McKinsey, and all of them, no, 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 right? And they keep giving me the same feedback. Feedback is, you don't really have an MBA. And if only you just had like a communications degree. And in that time, I get humbled, and I'm just like so shocked that I'm not landing all of these jobs. In hindsight, and again, you are the sum total of all your experiences and the places that you've been. It was a lesson I needed to learn, that I don't need to fit into anybody's box. That's the first one. And as an entrepreneur, You are supposed to be looking outside the box in the first instance, right? So that's the first thing. And the second thing is that humility is important. You are not going to make it building anything if you're not humble, because with humility comes the ability to listen, to get feedback, to learn from your clients. And that's how you grow a business. So I needed that knockdown, right? I didn't like it at the time. I was embarrassed at the time. And then eventually, the chairman of Tata, Indian conglomerate company, the fifth biggest conglomerate in the world, and you guys probably know Tata for the cars. So quick Tata case study. They're not only in cars, they build hotels, they do leather, they do water, they do electricity, they do ICT. They are bigger than the Coca-Cola and Google brands combined in the world because of what they do, right? So I get approached by the chairman of Tata, and he says, and the reason he approaches me, by the way, is because I had managed to raise a couple of million from him for the foundation. And I want you to also interconnected dots, right? So, and I'll talk about it because one of the things for one of you here wants to be a moderator in the future or conversation strategist, every stage is basically an interview with your next client. So it doesn't matter who you're engaging with. You always treat that engagement. I don't know who all of you will be or who all of you are, but I have to treat even this moment right here as if my future clients are sitting in this room, right? So he says to me, Nozi, I remember you raised money from us. We've never given anybody that much money. If you, and I hear that you're looking for a job, we don't have a job for you, but you can come and work here for a month and you can decide what job title you want, and you can be anything you want in our company, because we're not going to let a person like you walk around without a job. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. So I went and I joined Tata, and I spent a month. And in that month, I realized two things. Their branding strategy was crap. Their communication strategy was crap. And they were busy buying Jaguar Land Rover. And so part of my job, I realized, was to make sure that people shouldn't know that Tata was buying Jaguar Land Rover, because of the brand association wouldn't work for Jaguar Land Rover. We still wanted people to buy Jaguar Land Rovers because they think they're buying big British cars, even though we own them. So if you didn't know that Tata owns Jaguar Land Rover, it means I did my job, right? I did my job. And so I said to the chairman, I'd like to be the head of branding and corporate communications for Africa. He said, is it going to fit on a business card? I said, I think we can make it fit on a business card. And that's how I became the head of branding and corporate communications for Tata in Africa, right? And I used to work between Johannesburg and India, in Mumbai in particular. And it was my first experience of working for a global company. And so one of the things my boss came to me about, and he said, Nozi, the problem that we have is people don't know Tata in South Africa. They think we're just about cars. Can you help us tell the Tata story? Especially let everybody know, like, all the stuff we do on the continent. I said, of course. So I called CNBC Africa.connect, right? And I said to CNBC Africa, we'd like to commission you to help us tell the Tata story. And so they said, yes, of course. So we traveled the continent. We went to about 7 or 8 different African countries. We interviewed clients. We interviewed partners. And at the end of it, we put it on air. And before it went on air, they came to me and they said, you know, but your voice is not there. Do you think you can maybe just do a line about the future of the Tata brand in Africa? So I had one line. I can't even remember what the line was, but it was like 10 words. My boss signed off on it. And of course, I called my mother and I said, I'm going to be on TV, right? And so, of course, she then gathered everyone. Right? Everybody was watching the 2-hour documentary because I had 15 seconds at the end, right? And on the back of that 15 seconds, treat every single engagement as if it is your last and first opportunity. At the end of that 15 seconds, I got a call from CNBC Africa and they said, Nozi, we want you to become one of our primetime anchors. And I said, I can't do it. I don't know anything about trading. I don't know anything about financial markets. I have a degree that I was told is not good enough in general, in international relations and diplomacy. And I'm just not good at numbers. And I had a list of things of disqualifying myself. And they said, we don't care about that. You can learn that. What we're looking for is your ability to tell stories and your ability to simplify things for other people to understand. And so I joined CNBC Africa, and that's how I ended up doing a second master's in development finance, because I realized I had a gap and I needed to close that gap in finance. Scariest thing I'd ever did it part-time at Stellenbosch Business School, but cum laude. Like, how does that happen, right? And so it was in this moment, this is a picture taken at the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, delivering a show called Business Tonight, that I realized something else had become knocking at my door. I'd been at CNBC for about 5 years, and I was doing a show called Invest Africa, where I had a guest in Johannesburg sitting with me in the studio, a guest in Lagos in Nigeria, and a guest in Rwanda, in East Africa, in Kigali, and we would have this conversation. And this person called me and said, Nozi, you know that thing, that one man that you do on TV, where you're talking to a whole lot of different people, you're weaving things in a way that just makes sense and is so simple, and people, can you do that in front of 1,000 people live? And I thought to myself, oh, I've never tried it, but let's do it. And then I moderated for the first time. And I just knew. I knew. It was almost like somebody had like kicked me in the stomach. I knew this is the thing that I've been prepared for. So I did it once, and then after that, I kept getting calls from others saying, oh, we saw you, oh, you saw you, please, can you come? Now I had a dilemma. I'm like, I have a full-time job, but I have these people wanting me to do this. And I'm like, I also have debit orders. So are we really, really going to leave a salary, a clear, confirmed salary, for this possibility of going to be an entrepreneur and doing this full time? So the point about taking an informed and risk-assessed leap of faith, you don't just jump. You don't just leap. Risk assessment. So I had to de-risk myself. At the time, I wasn't married, didn't have a cat, didn't have a dog, but what I did have was rent. I was driving a nice fancy car and just lifestyle things. So I gave up my place and moved to a cheaper place. I took the little money that I had and I paid off my car. Because why? I didn't want to, oh, guys, it's 5 past already. Okay, I'm gonna run. And we're on the first slide.
Okay.
I'll take another 10 minutes max. Because this part of the story is important. You de-risk yourself in order to jump into the risky position, right? You can't stand still because there's a risk. If there's a risk, name it. What's the risk? I've got a bond. I mean, I've got rent, I've got a car, I've got this. So how do I get rid of those things so that I can make the leap? And to let you realize how silly the thing was, that what I was earning in a month, I started billing in an hour. But I needed that leap of faith in order to do that. So calculate the risk and then jump is the point I'm trying to make. And then if you get it all right, you can turn your voice into an invoice. You productize your gift. I want to just make a little thing here. When we think about building businesses, we always think about a product, something outside of you, or a service. And that's fine. But what I'm also saying is maybe, just maybe, you've missed the fact that it's sitting in here already. Right? My intellect, my voice, my experiences is what the world is after. I don't have to do anything else outside of that. And so when people tell you to go find your purpose, you're not finding your purpose anyway. Because when you go and find something, it's something outside of you, right? You activate your purpose because it's already inside of you, right? You can find a product, you can find a service, but the purpose is here, right? It's the thing that sits in your DNA that you were born with that nobody can take away from you. And if you can build something on that, nobody can take that away from you. Does that make sense? Right? So let me go quickly. So I wanted to share this video with you very quickly. This is how I'm introduced now.
Nozipho Tshabalala is the CEO of the Conversation Strategists, where she moderates global conversations that are designed to have measurable outcomes. She is known as the go-to moderator for presidential and high-level panel conversations globally. She has moderated conversations for global bodies, including the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the International Labour Organization, the United Nations, the African Union, governments, and multinationals around the world. In 2019, she was named as one of the top 100 most influential young Africans and one of the top 100 most influential South Africans. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Nozipho Tshabalala.
She's just been outstanding. You've blown my mind. You've blown me completely. So I'd like you to take you along with me wherever I go to be program director.
Yes,
but
sir.
you're too busy. You will not be able to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for that. But I wanted to share that part of the story, the daring to dream, because that's what sets you up for that moment, right? You've got to activate the purpose that sits within you and to dream big. So how about daring to do? So a couple of things to do, right? I love that picture with Melinda Gates. It's one for me, one of the highlights of being called by Melinda Gates personally to come and make sure that I moderate a conversation with her. Today, our company says that we work with smart people. We help them to have simple conversations, and we make the world a better place. I want to pause here a little bit on doing. So you've dreamed something, it's really moved you, and now you have the opportunity to actually build something. Break it down. What's the first thing? Just go register it, right? What's the second thing? Just open a bank account for your business. What's the thing? Get your first client, right? And sometimes that first client is not the client it's not Melinda Gates. And it's not going to be Melinda Gates at the beginning, right? But that's okay. If you can be clear about what is it that you're going to learn from this moment and how you're going to build it to your next clients and your next clients. And when you, even in that moment where you're sitting with, I don't know, Moja Live CEO as your guest, the people in the audience are your next clients. So you have to, and it doesn't have to be about when you're on stage. As an entrepreneur, whatever you're doing, whoever comes in contact with what you are offering and will ask the question, who's behind this? Even if it's something as simple as a presentation, make sure that whenever the question is asked, who's behind this, that becomes an opportunity for another door for you to open. Every single thing that you do. I'm rushing now. So let's spend a time here around daring to deliver, because it's the second or the third piece, but the most important one as we think. I want to share a couple of things to you about how to make sure you're delivering, because we talk about delivery, but we don't give people tools to deliver right. The first thing about delivering is I want you to understand the concepts of bullets and cannonballs. So 2 ships in the ocean at war, coming at each other, right? You have a box of bullets and you have a cannonball. So a cannonball is that big, the bazooka thing, you know, that one that will shoot once, right? But you have one cannonball and you've got a couple of bullets. If you shoot your cannonball as the first shot, if you miss, you're gone, you're sunk, right? And so what you need to do is you need to take a bullet and you need to shoot. You're probably going to miss and then recalibrate, like, okay, I missed a little bit, let me do that. Take another bullet. And the more you keep doing that, the closer you're going to get to it. So that the moment for your cannonball arrives, you're going to hit your target, right? But in order to shoot bullets, it means that you need to be open to the idea that you have to grow through experimentation, not just replication. Copy and paste doesn't work anymore. Guys, copy and paste doesn't work anymore. Experimentation and not replication. And what I mean by that is that you've got to be open to feedback. So when you do something and someone's like, yeah, it's good, but I think you missed this, that's a bullet. So next time you go, all right. And so if you're not asking for feedback as an entrepreneur, then you actually you're shooting in the dark. And so the kind of feedback that is the most useful feedback is negative feedback. You are doing nothing for anybody if all you're telling them is how great they are. Yeah. Right? So the question you should be asking is, what do you think I could have done? And when you say better, people, they're like, oh, no, you were great. Don't say what could I have done differently. It changes the conversation. And it brings, and you, in that moment, Obama, my notes, because that's your bullet, your target. And then the last part is then about timing. And we all want to build big businesses today. But if you're going to be disciplined enough to shoot bullets before your cannonballs, you will know when is the right time for your cannonball. You'll feel it in your body, right? But you won't know if all you want to do is just shoot your and then be surprised when your business doesn't take off. Does it make sense? Cool. Second thing, I want to teach you the concept of baboon dusting, right? So what baboons do to prevent themselves from being eaten by the predators is they create dust like this. And what the dust does makes them look bigger than they really are, right? So don't fake it till you make it. I hate that, right? We don't fake it. We baboon dust it while we build it, right? And what I mean by this is show up as if you were bigger already. Does that make sense? So if I'm building a niche business, niche because I want to keep it lean. I want to make sure that the people I hire are the people I need. Because sometimes we think building a business is about just hiring people and that bigness is measured by the number of people who work for you. That's not what bigness is. Bigness is about the bigness of your impact, right? So people will sometimes say, oh, so how many people work for you? We're small. I don't know how many people it is, right? No, we're a very small team, right? Because people are wired to think that, oh, if you say there's only 4 of you in the team, then you can't do a World Bank job. Because a World Bank job needs a team that has 10, 20 people working, right? So we show up as if we're already big. And that is shown in the unexpected excellence that we deliver with. From the content to the preparation, the meetings with the clients before, even the way our quotes look, and then in the moment of delivery, you will not catch me dead looking like my audience members. You must make sure that if you're going to be standing in the front, kuyabonakala ukuthi you are standing in the front, right? And so even as you go into your client environment, you walk in as if you have a 10 million rand business already. You walk in as if you're running a billion business already, right? And this is not about faking it, but it is about getting into that image and showcasing that that's what you're capable of doing. And then be clear about what you're exporting. When we talk about global businesses, we often think about we're exporting a product or we're exporting a service. In my case, I'm not only exporting this is my technology. My technology is the ability to use my intelligence to simplify things so that everybody can understand the conversation, right? That's my technology. But in addition to that, I know that I'm hired because I'm Black. I know that I'm hired because I'm a woman. I know that I'm hired because I'm African. So if I get hired, so for example, I went to something in Portugal called the Euro-Africa Investment Summit. And I got there, everybody was wearing navy, black or gray suits. And of course, it was the opportunity for me to take out my orange Ghanaian Ankara dress, right? Because I'm exporting the entire experience of me. You must be an experience. Be an experience. So that people are not only hiring for what you can deliver, but hey, if Nozi's in the front, people are going to get an experience, right? So that's the point. And then execute with mission precision. My team hates me for this. Yo, guys, first of all, before you follow the data trail, follow the detail trail. We don't do silly things now like spelling mistakes, things that are not aligned. There's just needs to be a mission precision about what you're doing in terms of the detail. The quality of it must speak for itself, right? And then there's the data. Find out and understand who's buying, who's not buying, where and how, so that you go forcefully into the areas where you are already making money and tap into the markets where you're not making money, right? Get comfortable with customer intimacy. Angisho ukuthi, right? I'm not saying, what I'm saying is close to feedback. I love that you were here. What can I do different? What did you think? How did it relate to you? Did it work for you? Did I miss something? That's intimacy, because that's the vulnerability coming in, and they see that you appreciate that. And then we've spoken about the last point, deliver as if your next client is in the room. So this is my last slide, and we can 22. So guys, individual success is great, right? It's great when you're successful and people see you successful and they go to your Instagram and they can see that you're traveling, you've got all these clients, you're doing all these big names, and you become the go-to person for this and so on. And clients will call you for that. Like, oh no, we want tried and trusted hand because we know she's successful and so on. But what will keep you in the room is building something bigger than you. Something bigger than yourself. One of the things that we are learning very quickly is that I can't be in two places at once, right? So how do you solve for that? Do you solve by replicating yourself and making sure you're creating other Noziphos? It's one way. Or do you solve by building a machine behind yourself? How many Oprahs did Oprah replicate? Yeah. So there's more than one way of growing. You can grow by replicating. You can grow by building a capability behind you. And what I mean by that is that to be able to take your name and create different products, podcasting, do a moderation, do a masterclass series, write a book, put together a movie, whatever the case may be, growth doesn't always go this way. Especially for niche businesses, where the business is dependent on you. You need to build that way. So, and that's how you open multiple income streams. And be careful that you don't confuse this with being too diluted, that you don't know where your focus area is, right? There's certain things that you must be able to say, that one doesn't fit within the scope of what we can do, right? So we will, as our business, we will moderate, we will facilitate strategy sessions as well. We will teach, because this is one of the things I love. We will write, we will create mentorship experiences for other people. But there's certain things, when you call me to come and launch, come and launch a new beer brand, I'm not the right person. You've got celebrities for that, right? So know the things that are not for you, because that's not growth, that's distraction. Know the things that are not for you, so that you can focus your energy on the things that are for you. That does make sense? So I'm done, and let's open it up. Those are our what do you call them? Our handles. Those are, we do mentorship Mondays, and also follow us on LinkedIn. We're doing the masterclass series. If you haven't seen it already, the Auditor General, who's going to be here later on today, is our next guest on Monday at 6 p.m. So hope to see you there.
Absolutely amazing. Give her a round of applause. I firmly believe the best person to tell your story is the person themselves. And she has reflected, allowed us to go on a journey with her. And we have really received nuggets of wisdom. So whatever you have taken away, let's hear you. What are the questions? Show of hands. Please take a microphone by your table and ask away. Here it is.
Thank you.
Are you guys put the aircon? Okay. Maybe I'm talking and moving around. Yeah, I'm like, hot. It's fine. I'm good.
Okay, hi, my name is Unati. You spoke about feedback, and I think that's a very important thing, especially when you're trying to grow in your career and learn and see how to improve. But I recently finished my CA articles, and with that, you have to receive a lot of feedback from a lot of people. So my question would be, how do you filter feedback so that you know what to take on as you move forward and what is not really constructive?
It's a fantastic question. So if I can quickly just address that. My mother used to talk about saying that when you eat a chicken bone, You eat the meat, you leave the bones. And I've never forgotten that, because to your point, if you listen to too much feedback, it can become a distraction because you're trying to be all things to everyone. And that's why you've got to have a lot of clarity about your service, your core, your purpose. And you take the feedback that makes sense, and anything that begins to challenge you to change who you are, what you believe in from a value system perspective, is probably not for you. And there are spaces where our beliefs should be challenged, right? So for example, if you're a person who operates with stereotypes, and when we first hear it, we're probably going to go, yeah, that's not for me, that's a bone. But here's the test. If you keep getting the same type of feedback from different people over and over and over again, there's something there, right? So first filter for patterns. And when people give you patterns, then you've got to pay attention. Yeah.
All right, sir. And then hands, let me note you. One in the table, one over there. Thank you very much.
Good morning. Okay, my name's Nozipho. Yeah, so I just wanted to talk about, in the beginning, you were talking about, not having no as an answer and just moving with a lot of certainty. But then later in your story, you talked about how that, you were first told that you don't have the right qualifications for that moment, or that you're getting these things, and if you feel that yourself that actually I can't do these things. So it's that kind of conflict that I want to get to, that you're talking about as well, that you'll be facing a lot of distractions. And I'll just to make this a tangible question, what for you helped you in those moments? Because you'll have those moments of doubt that, can I really do this? Or am I in the right space? You feel that imposter syndrome, that you're walking through something and maybe you're not the right person for this. So for me, like, I feel like I'm at a juncture of a lot of things, either academia, business, or tech. So what for you gave you that clarity to say that actually this is where I need to be, or I am where I'm supposed to be?
So firstly, let me say I'm so pleased that a man has owned imposter syndrome. First time, actually. I've never heard a man saying he has imposter syndrome. So well done for your vulnerability and the ownership of that. I want to put the imposter syndrome as a separate question, and I'm happy to address it because I've just had a realization that I've been looking at imposter syndrome the wrong way my whole life, and I want to maybe talk about that. But to your question about if I'm raised with this idea that there's no, right? And yet at the same time, there are things that I'm like, oh, this is hard. I need to go and do. I want to take you back to the example of going to CNBC, right? I get invited into a space where I feel inadequate from the get-go. Like I don't know anything about this. Nobody has to tell me no. I'm saying no myself because I'm like, I don't know what you're asking me to do. And sometimes you need people around you to realize that the thing, you're not saying yes or no to the right thing. I was saying yes or no to trading, finance, and what they were inviting me to do is to bring my voice and my storytelling capability. And even when I got there, I still was like, I don't feel like I understand what everybody's talking about. And that's why I had to go and study to go and back that up. And I think it's about that reality check with yourself to say the first no, that forceful no to keep going, is the no that you tap into to give yourself the permission to try new things, even if you don't know how to do it. Remember, outworking everybody, it's not outsmarting, right? The ability to outwork anybody means that I might not know something, but I'm going to forge ahead because that's the thing that's going to help me learn something new. And then when you get to that reality, to have the humility to say, I have a gap. I don't know what everybody's talking about. So I'm actually going to go do the work and get another degree so that I can understand. And that's the second point I was talking about, the mindset to have a workaround. And that's how you turn a no into a yes, because it comes to you as a no. And if you are humble enough to see the gap and the thing that you need to work around it, that's when you begin